I'm Vaughn Albury. Welcome to Ed Table Talk Unplugged. It's a show produced by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training. Here, we delve into issues of education featuring key persons and stakeholders. Here's my co-host, Denise Pratt.
Thanks, Vaughn. Well, since March 16, 2020, much of the world, including the Bahamas, has been in a lockdown as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. This virus is still with us, and our children have borne the brunt of its effects due to lockdowns and a suspension of face-to-face instruction. For more than a year and a half now, a number of our children have not registered on the Ministry of Education's virtual school platform. Today, we will discuss how our students on one of our family islands are faring in this new dispensation. Well, joining us today to tell us are our District Superintendent for Andros and the Berry Islands, Jerome Forbes, along with Principal Lavonne Neymour. Later, we will be joined by a teacher from the Christie High School in Andros, Ms. Shanique Hart.
Yes, but before we get into our discussion here, here's our newest team member from the Communications section, Lisa Bullard, with information on schools in Andros and the Berry Islands.
Andros is the largest of all the islands within the archipelago of the Bahamas. The island is 104 miles long and 40 miles wide, but has the smallest population for its size. Mangrove Key is one of the districts of the Bahamas on Andros Island. Its capital is Moxie Town in the northeast corner of the island. Just to the northeast of Andros, on the northeastern edge of the Great Bahama Bank, lie the Berry Islands, a stirrup-shaped chain of 30 keys and numerous smaller islets. The Andros and the Berry Islands School District is comprised of 19 schools, including 3 preschools, 11 primary schools, 4 high schools, and 1 comprehensive school. There are 1,784 students and 163 teachers within this district. For Ed Factoids, I'm Lisa Bullard.
Thanks, Lisa. After that information on the district, Mr. Forbes, tell us about Andros and the Berry Islands. How is education faring there?
Education in Andros was always paramount. The parents, teachers, principals work together to ensure that no child in Andros is left behind. We ensure that students are exposed to not just the basics in terms of compulsory subjects, but also practical subjects such as agriculture, electrical engineering, carpentry, cosmetology, so that when these students graduate from a school in Andros or the Berry Islands, they can make a meaningful contribution to not just this country, but the world. And my district comprised of the Berry Islands across the water. I would fly to the Berry Islands, take a look at the comprehensive school there in R.N. Gomez. Then, we are now one Andros in terms of North, Central, Mangrove Key, and South Andros. And Andros have good captains, so I enjoy my time going from Bering Point over to Mangrove Key.
So you have to take a boat.
Jump on the boat from Bering Point and go over to Mangrove Key, see my schools there, then I take another boat ride, the ferry from Mangrove Key over to South Andros. And what I find unique about Andros, as a person who grew up on Eleuthera, we were not accustomed only to the glass window bridge that we're accustomed to seeing. But in Andros, there's some 4 or 5 bridges that actually connects the island to one. We have the Stafford Creek Bridge, then we have Fresh Creek, then there's another bridge on the deep south end of the northern quadrant of Central Andros. And then we move over to South Andros, where we have the Deep Creek Bridge and the Little Creek Bridge. And so we see it as a vision when people looked at the objective of making Andros one. And so the Ministry of Education saw it as a meaningful aspect to now make Andros one district with the Berry Islands.
So is education equitable across the span of Andros and the Berry Islands, in your view?
The thing about Andros is, even though it's one island, we're still moving towards equitable education. And this was the reason why we decided to make Andrews one district. In the past, it was North and Central, and then Mangrove Key and South Andrews was a separate district. By making it one district, we can now maximize our resources on the ground in Andrews to ensure that what is done in North is also available in South, and something that's done in the South can also be available in the North or the Berry Islands through even our virtual platform.
Now, Mr. Forbes, you used the term comprehensive school. I know some of our viewers may not be familiar with that term. Could you perhaps explain to us exactly what you mean by that, and also basically some of the challenges you may have been faced with a comprehensive school?
Right. Well, the comprehensive school is basically what was called the all-age school in those days, where all the students of school age would go to that one particular institution from grade 1 all the way to grade 12. But in those days, we would sometimes have one teacher, and we had monitors in those schools to assist. With a comprehensive school, we now have trained teachers in those schools who offer more subjects to the students, like the cosmetology, the home economics, and we utilize a curriculum that goes from preschool all the way to grade 12. So it allows us to monitor the students more. So we can see the student when they enter K3, and we can watch that same student throughout the entire school age. And that's one of the advantages of having a comprehensive school. And the comprehensive school was created to solve a disadvantage, because on some islands where we had multiple schools and they had smaller populations and enrollment numbers were kind of low, we combined the high school with the primary school to make it one, so that all the resources can be on that one site. So comprehensive school is actually an answer to some of the problems we always face with in education.
Well, I want to ask the principal here. I know that we now are faced with online learning, but you're in a family island, of course, so I guess your school may not have been as impacted by the pandemic, I'm assuming. But please tell us, how's it been working out at your school since the pandemic started?
Okay, like you said, last year we were not in that, we were face-to-face. So when they started the virtual learning, we didn't have to learn all of the technical part of it, but now we have to embrace it. And it is definitely an opportunity. I would not use the word a challenge, but it's an opportunity for us to advance our skills as teachers and as administrators. The students, on the other hand, when you say, oh, we're using our laptops, we're using our devices, they say, oh, we're going to play games. So they have a different view of virtual learning. But so far, we have had challenges in terms of connectivity, with being connected to BTC and the length of the island. Sometimes we would have power outage and our students would not be able to get on. And then we have some students who don't have devices at all. So we've had our challenges with students being able to access, like you said, the virtual learning platform.
Well, your school is small.
Yes, it is.
The Bearing Point Primary School.
Yes.
You have a community of about 400 persons, but your school population is just, you say, around 45
students, yes.
That makes it a little bit easier as you can reach out to the parents. How has that been going in terms of getting them to partner with you?
Okay, the population is small. We have from preschool, pre-primary to grade 3. The good thing about it is that we are connected in terms of the settlements. Our school caters to 3 settlements, that's Bearing Point, Cargo Creek, and Bowen Sound. So to assist students who aren't able to get on, we have been making learning packets for the students. So either myself or another teacher would drive around in the community and drop the packets off for parents who aren't able to come to the school. So we've been trying to accommodate them as best as we can in terms of making sure that they are not left behind.
Are they responding?
You will have a few.
Hold on. You gave me the answer right there. How do you get them to respond now?
We try
Yeah.
to pump them up. We try to encourage them. We try to let them know that at the end of the day, this is going to benefit them. All right, so that when they move on to the next level, we don't want them to be handicapped. So we try to encourage them to do the work. We try to keep them on task, working, because we know at the end of the day, we're being overseen by the district, and we don't want to make the district look bad. So we try to encourage our kids to stay on task. We try to encourage our parents to assist the children in their learning.
Ooh, interesting.
Well, that is interesting, and it's important to have that collaborative effort from the parents and the community, and of course, the teachers, the educators. Well, Vaughn, I think it's almost time for our first break.
You know I'm looking at you. Yes, it is time for our first break. So there's so much more to come. You're watching Ed Table Talk Unplugged. Stay with us.
Log on and stay on. As parents, we will not always be present while our children engage in online learning. Ensure that your child is getting the most from the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training's learning management system. Here are some tips to help you establish your child's online learning routine. Number 1, designate a workspace to reduce distraction. The bed is not recommended. Number 2, each morning ensure your child is alert and devices are ready to log on. Number 3, periodically check in on your child by calling, texting, or FaceTiming to ensure that they are participating in their online classes. Number 4, communicate with your child's teachers to stay updated on your child's progress and online attendance. Number 5, remember, it takes a village to raise a child, so you can create a WhatsApp or other social media group with parents to share relevant information pertaining to your child's online education. Education is important. Log on and stay on. This public service announcement was brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with this channel. This public service announcement is brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with this channel.
Hey Shelly, what you saying, gal? I see you in a minute. Yeah, I good. Give me 1 minute, let me take this call. Hello? Listen here, y'all need to stay from out that yard here and hurry up and clean the house before I get back. Goodbye. Sorry about that, gal. Man, the gal last year children you talking to? Why they in virtual school? It's 11:45 in the morning. What happened? They ain't get no class today? Shelly, one thing, but you always up in people's business. Listen here, I'm fortunate like you. I can't afford one device, let alone 3. Then the internet is be in and out and thing. They ain't dead. They don't learn nothing on them computer, no way. The ministry need to open school back up face to face. Gal, if you wasn't bigger than me, I would have cut your behind. First of all, I don't have it no better than you. The difference is, I can do what I need to do to make sure my children get their education. You think I rich? Girl, carry yourself and go to that school and tell them the children need their device. And internet off and on? That ain't no excuse. You know how much place around here the church and thing will let you use their space? And girl, stop talking fool. Cause I know you got family who the children could go by. Ain't nobody tell me that. I know that. Miss, get serious here before you ruin your children's life. Shelly, like I say, you always up in people's business. But anyway, okay.
This public service announcement was brought to you by the Communications section of the Ministry of Education and Technical and Vocational Training in conjunction with this channel.
Welcome back to Ad Table Talk Unplugged. We're speaking with District Superintendent Jerome Forbes of the Ministry of Education and Principal Lavonne Neymour of the Bearing Point Primary School, Central Andros. Well, Denise, we want to continue that discussion.
Yes, well, we were speaking earlier about virtual learning and how that's coming along. And we want to talk a little bit more about that. I know you focused on the Bearing Point Primary School, but we also know we have other schools and we have the Berry Islands. Overall, Mr. Forbes, how are you finding the parents and the students' reaction to the online platform?
Right. Let me start by saying this, put a plug in for the district. Last year, when we look at our national results, we saw an incremental improvement in the overall grade level assessment test results, BJC and BGCSE results, which showed that over the last academic year, the team of parents, teachers, and schools working together really brought forward some very good fruit. What we find also in terms of the virtual learning is that we know during the lockdown, Even when we had exams, we had persons, invigilators would sometimes have to come to the islands to invigilate exams, like the electrical installation and those other exams. We were able to host those invigilators and those markers virtually. So it gave our heart well to see the electronics marker on the big screen, looking at the students' work in South Andrews High School, or looking at the projects the students have done in Central Andrews High School. And it did my heart good to see how far virtual learning can go once we embrace it. The difficulty we find is that when we look at equitable and equality in education, we find that firstly, we issue tablets to those students who were on the lunch program initially. So the students who were part of our national lunch program were given tablets and access to internet through an internet box. As time progressed, we realized that there were also needs for students who were not on the lunch program, because we are now faced with unemployment and other issues that were as a result of the pandemic. And so we were faced with students without devices. We had parents who were not able to probably purchase devices at the time. And these are the students who we are faced with educating. And so we find that even though we're issuing the packets to them, every child learns differently. A child would not always be able to just open a packet, read assignments without being taught and complete assignments. And so as a district, we're looking at what we can do right away when we come back face to face to close that learning gap. Because these students who are collecting packets and handouts are not really being given instruction by teachers. They're completing assignments, revising, and doing other aspects of education, basically independently. And so even though teachers would mark the work and they send it back in some level of instruction, some of these students have no access to online instruction. And so what I'm doing as superintendent with my team, we're trying to really improvise and put together programs to close this learning gap as soon as we're able to come back face to face. And so parents are being challenged also. We know that the parent job is to nurture and care for their child. And we're now asking them to be an educator also. Even though as teachers we may say it's a parent job to also teach their child, but parents are not taught to be trained teachers. And we are putting that on them, that we want you now to make sure your child is online. We want you to go through the assignment with the child. And not all parents have that ability to be able to go through that curriculum the way we expect them to. And so we are finding ways to partner with these parents also, to find out what it is that we can do to encourage them. And so what I do sometimes as superintendent, rather than, I always call a parent and say your child was not doing the work or not doing it up to a standard, I will call sometimes to just encourage them and say, I know you're doing your best. Continue to put your best foot forward. We know that we're all in this together. And at the end of the day, we know that your child is going to benefit from what we're offering them. So we know it's a stressful situation all around. We have students who have experienced parents who have lives have been lost as a result of COVID-19. We have siblings who were lost as a result of COVID-19. We have teachers who have lost loved ones. And so when we look at all of the heartache and pain that we may be experiencing in Andrews itself, in that community, it seems that we'll only be able to show compassion. Even we would want to sometimes go and have a fight with the parents and say, man, pull up your socks. In normal times, that was good. But in these times, we tend to show more compassion and work together with them to show that we are all in this fight together. And that's what it's all about.
Well, I wanted to throw a question out. I know we've heard a lot of sad stories regarding to the pandemic and the challenges that our parents and our students are facing throughout the country and throughout the world. But I've also been hearing that there's been some clouds, some silver linings in the clouds, so to speak, where we've been hearing stories where this virtual learning has been actually a thumbs up for some of our students. They found that they've been able to concentrate better. They actually like the homeschool environment. I've been hearing reports of some of the parents who said, you know what, I think I like to stick with this program. This is a good thing. What has been, have you experienced that between the Andrews and the Berry Islands with some of your parents?
Yes, we have experienced that because we have to realize that in Andrews, particular schools were around from they were constructed in the 1980s. And some of the classrooms were kind of, in terms of spacing issue. And now we had to look at creating more space for social distancing. And so when we were able to spread the students out in terms of putting more room space, creating more room space, we had to now find more teaching resources to assist students who are now in these separate rooms. And that's where the virtual school came in, because we are now introducing students. For example, we could look at a school like Point Rock and other primary schools who did not have a music teacher or art and craft teacher. We were able to offer those students the music and art and craft through the virtual school, and able to do these classes virtually. We have students now asking, can they do chemistry and physics now on the virtual platform? They have never done this before, but we have students who want to really do the chemistry and physics because they've heard if you want to be a doctor or you want to go into nursing, the college may require you to do college prep because it's not offered in their school on normal circumstances. So now they are saying, can we do this chemistry now and tap into the chemistry teacher at North Andrews High because we have one district? Can I tap into the physics class at North Andrews High? So there are some really good silver spots there. Despite what's going on, we are embracing that opportunity as we move forward.
And before we close out with this section, Mrs. Neymour, tell us, what is your appeal to parents to get them to realize, in a short statement, how important education is at this time?
In the 21st century, we're not going back, we're going forward. So they need to get on board so that we can all move forward, and it takes them to encourage their students, their children. Because if the children are moving forward, then the parents need to move forward with their children. So I encourage parents to learn. It might seem a challenge right now, not knowing what to do, but with assistance from the school, assistance from persons in the community and stakeholders, we can all move forward in this 21st century.
Well, we've come to the end of our second segment. We'd like to thank District Superintendent Forbes and Principal Neymour for appearing with us. There is so much more to come on Ed Table Talk Unplugged. Stay with us.
COVID-19 has forced students around the world, including the Bahamas, to continue their studies via online platforms. Here are some tips to help you successfully navigate through this new way of learning. You should prepare for your online classes just as if you were attending a face-to-face class on your school's campus. So be on time. Wake up early and log on to the virtual platform at least 5 minutes before the start of your class. Set up a space that is dedicated to being used as a daily learning environment. This will help you to establish a routine. Your space can be at your dining room table, a library, or your church hall. It just needs to be a quiet place that is conducive to studying. Be prepared. Make sure your computer or tablet is fully charged and your camera is on. Use headphones, especially if you are in a shared space. Dress in appropriate clothing. Sit up straight. Remember, you will be in camera view. Mute your audio when your teacher is speaking. Be focused, be attentive, and actively participate. Before speaking, raise your hands, then type your questions in the chat box. Avoid distractions, and remember to always be respectful, kind, and considerate. Your teachers will be there to assist, and you will make online friends and create virtual study groups. Online study may be new, but with dedication and persistence, you will achieve your goals. Well, welcome back to our final segment of Ed Table Talk Unplugged with Ms. Shanique Hart, who's a teacher at the Huntley Christie High School over in Andros. Earlier we spoke with District Superintendent Jerome Forbes and Principal Lavonne Neymour. Well, Principal Neymour has stayed with us, and she's joined now with Ms. Hart. Welcome, ladies, again.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you with us. Now, earlier I posed a question, and I want to have it addressed by both of you today about this virtual learning platform. Now, when I was in primary school, there was a moment in time when I had to be off from school sick. And so I was homeschooled for a bit. When I returned, I realized that Well, things had progressed well for me during that time off. I was a little bit further ahead than my peers, and I actually enjoyed homeschool. And I'm thinking that there must be some students who are enjoying homeschool as well. What has been the response from your parents, from your students with homeschooling and virtual learning?
Well, we've had some parents who have embraced the opportunity. They look at it as an opportunity for them to be home with their students, their children, and to see what they are doing. They always say, well, the teacher doesn't know everything. So now it's now the parents' time to show that, hey, I'm going to teach my child using the ministry's curriculum and just follow the guidelines, what their children need to do. So we have had some students who excel in various areas. And I must give credit to the parents who have taken the challenge and embrace it to teach their children, to guide their children in the learning process. There's not all the naysayers. We have some students who have really appreciate the opportunity to be home, where they don't have to worry about getting up, getting dressed, having to get lunch money, having to walk to the bus stop, walk to school, or to wear masks at school. So definitely this is an opportunity that have come with its ups and its downs, its pros and its cons. So there are some parents who have really run with the opportunity to homeschool their children. It's not official homeschooling. They're still underneath the ministry's guidelines, but we are happy to have some high flyers who have excelled at the primary level. I can speak about the primary level.
Ms. Hart, you're at the high school level.
Yes.
What has been your experience with the homeschooling idea?
Well, my students, like Ms. Neymour would have said, they just enjoy being home. They don't have to put on uniform, but they do still have to dress properly when they come on. Those who would have normally excelled in school are the ones whose parents at home appreciate it even more. And those who just, we came to school because we have to come to school, they are still the ones who, okay, we home and we loving it, that's about it, okay? And but those parents who are always involved in their children's educational careers or anything, they still do their part and they're enjoying it even more. And they also ask for more assistance from the teachers. If they don't understand certain things, they would message us or email us and just say, well, I don't understand this little bit. Can you explain so that I can further help Susan or Charlie? Okay, so they love that aspect of it.
You're at one of the largest schools in Andros, the
Yes.
Christie High School, with some 300 students.
Yes.
How many of them are engaged in the virtual learning? Nationally, it is reported that some 30% of students are not engaged. What is it like at Huntley Christie?
So we have, I would say, I don't want to quote us wrong, about 75% of our students are on, and the other 25%, they haven't responded, or there's been one or two who's trickled on in as time went by. But I would say our school has made an effort. They would have called those persons within that percentage. Yes.
Do you have WhatsApp groups, Zoom meetings? Tell us about what's at Huntley Christie.
Well, the teachers would, once you become comfortable enough with parents having your numbers, then you would, some of them would have created WhatsApp groups or just given them the Ministry of Education's email for them to contact them. And like I would have said, our school would have made contact with, if not all, most of those students who has not been on as yet, and they would have gotten responses from parents, and the parents were like, we're trying and we're going to see that they get the things that they need, so bear with us. So we're just waiting on those ones. So we're working with the ones that we do have.
You're just ready for face-to-face too.
I love face-to-face, but I'm also loving the virtual aspect of it. And that's just me because I'm into technology, and as a business teacher, I have to use it anyway. So that's just my aspect of it.
Well, both of you sound quite encouraged. You're encouraged with what's happening on Andros and the Berry Islands.
Yes, very
Okay.
encouraged, very
Well, ladies, it has been a pleasure
Indeed.
to have you appear on Ed Table Talk Unplugged. You
Thank you.
really gave an insight into what's happening on that island, and I imagine across the islands of the Bahamas. So thank you very much, Mrs. Neymour and Ms. Hart,
Indeed.
for appearing.
Thank you, ladies.
welcome.
And it's certainly been a pleasure to have all of you. And we also want to thank our district superintendent, Mr. Jerome Forbes, who appeared earlier. And well, that's it for us today on Airtable Talk
Yes.
Unplugged.
And if you'd like to receive updates on what's happening at the Ministry of Education, visit our website or hit us up on Facebook, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel and other social media platforms. Again, thanks so much for joining in. I am Vaughn Aubrey, along with Denise Rapp. Join us again next time for another edition of Airtable Talk Unplugged.